teaching really is a performing art. There are days you're in front of a classroom that you really no more want to be there than having a root canal, but you have to put on the act and be enthusiastic.
But I very much felt where she showed this is a place where you belong, but this is not a place where you stay. This is not the end. This is a station along a longer path. And so what did I say? High school is a place where you find your footing, but then that allows you to jump farther. So then getting into my career here in high school, seeing those same students, I'm making sure that I'm reaching back to those students, so showing them, you belong here, and there is a place, right? We're all part of this group, but you're not supposed to stay here. That there are different paths for you farther out there. So,
like when I directed my first play, like I pretty much used what JT did with us as a playbook, like this is what happens first, this is what happens second, this is how you talk to students, this is how you tell them they need to memorize their lines. Like pretty much exactly what she did, that is what I tried to do in my first play. It was not successful because I was so young and so terrible, but I tried. And so I gradually got better, right? And I would say that for both of us, probably, that we still do a lot of things director-wise that JT did in the first place and that we learned from her. And so that's directing-wise. As far as in the classroom, I think I tried to be that level of patient that she was, like accepting every weird thing that a kid says and nodding and saying, yes, of course, okay, that's fine. Yep, we're good. So I'll have to think about that a little bit more though, but you can go.
I try to push the kids the same way I felt like she pushed me. Just last week, I had this kid. He's very good at athletics. He's not particularly academically inclined. He spends a lot of his class time on his phone watching footage of games rather than doing his work. And for probably the third time that day, I said, you should really put your phone away and get your work done. You have stuff you need to do. And he said, you really should be a football coach. And I said, why is that? And he said, well, you're better at my football coach than anybody about pushing and making sure I don't just give up. And I thought, yeah, there's JT. That's what I learned from her, is just keep pushing them and don't let them slack and don't let them, just take the easy way out, because they can do better.
From Kentucky, and Judy asked me to come teach at the high school, or wanted me to come and interview, and I was adamant I was going to stay at the college level. And she said, I think you really need to come home. And she called Rock Falls High School my home. And she said, I promise I'm going to guide you and you'll be just fine. And she persuaded me to come direct some shows. So that's how I started. I helped her out with her fall production of Aladdin in 1997. And then from there on out, I was on my own.
But she was just one that embraced everything and everybody. I never heard her say a negative thing about any staff or about any students. And I remember one time talking about her energy in the classroom. I would frequently get an assignment to patrol the second floor, if you remember that, during lunch period especially, just make the circles constantly. And it was usually quite quiet. You guys were actually good. But every once in a while I get tired of walking. So there was a passing period when I was still on duty. And one day I'm looking in and she's not in her classroom, but the students are, congregating. And I just went in and took a seat right dead center of her classroom. And these were freshmen, sophomores. I had juniors, seniors, so most of them didn't know me, or at least very well. And she came in, sat down, started doing her paperwork and taking attendance and talking to kids and interacting with them. And about 10 minutes into her class period, she said something that I knew the answer to. So I said, ooh, I know. She looked up and saw me for the first time. And basically it was, Munsell, what are you doing here? And we jabbered back and forth, and she said, okay, time to go. But then I continued to do that every once in a while. And after a while, it was the same thing, but she would not even look up. She could tell by the way the class was responding that something was going on. And she would just say, Munsell, get out of here. So we had a really good relationship that way.
And I remember, this is going to sound like a put down, and it's not at all. Bill Brelsford was our principal for a long time, and he did a lot of evaluations, of course. And one day he came up to me after evaluating Judy, and he said, "That old broad can teach." And he certainly meant that as a compliment. You know,
wonderful.